Hello everyone, tonight on the program, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia tries to defend government's management of the ailing economy today at the TESCON event. Was he convincing enough? We will discuss. Also coming up, economist Karijmati calls for strict compliance with the Bank of Ghana's measures intended at preventing dollarization of the economy and ensuring relative stability of the cedi.
People should read this directive within the context of the fact that it is not just those engaging in price quotation that are liable for sanctions, but also those engaging in purchasing or patronizing these activities.
Meanwhile, real estate developers are asking for a workable plan to enable them quote prices of some services in dollars to avoid losses.
We need to become and also understand some of the tenets of some of the businesses that we run and be flexible and be willing to work with us to make it workable for all of us. But we are going to abide.
My name is Daryl Kwawu. Thanks for being with us. Details in a moment. Thanks for staying with us. My name is Daryl Kwawu. Economist and currency analyst Karijmati is calling for strict compliance with the measures by the Bank of Ghana if the intended purpose of preventing dollarization of the economy and ensuring relative stability of the cedi is to be achieved. The central bank today issued a warning of imprisonment and fines against persons and business owners flouting its directives on pricing in foreign currencies. Speaking on the marketplace, Mr. Mati called for strict compliance. He says that will help achieve the aim of stabilizing the cedi.
On the one hand, you can argue that because we dollarize our products, then there's too much demand for dollars. But at the same time, it appears it is a consequence of unstable exchange rates. And then people wanting to bypass the stocks would now have to dollarize. So there appears to be some bidirectional causality. Now, from what he said, it appears the ball has been thrown back in the court of the policymakers, where the alternative to dollarization is indexation. Now, if you find yourself in a situation where there's price volatility, exchange rate volatility, one of the ways around it is to index. It may be too little, too late as it appears, but it's better late than never, because it appears there's been failure or lax in enforcement of policies, directives, barring people from quoting and transacting in foreign currency. So because of that, it has created a state of free-for-all, and that is hurting the stability of the exchange rate to some extent. So it may appear quite late, but better late than never, because it is high time policymakers took a firm stance against some of these activities. And it is important to also stress that people should read this directive within the context of the fact that it is not just those engaging in price quotation that are liable for sanctions, but also those engaging in purchasing or patronizing these activities.
Well, still on this subject, the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, GREDA, has urged the Bank of Ghana to engage the association to design a workable plan that will enable developers quote the prices of some services in dollars to avoid losses. Speaking to Joy Business, the Executive Secretary of GREDA, Samuel Amegaibo, said even though real estate developers will abide by the directive, the unstable price regime in the country makes it difficult for members of the association to avoid losses.
I think under the circumstance, we are all interested in helping in stabilizing our currency and making the value of our currency grow. But so just as my brother just said, that the policymaker must also understand some of the tenets of some of the businesses that we run, and be flexible and be willing to work with us to make it workable for all of us. But we are going to abide. I mean, we have no choice. We will abide by the law. But then we should also be willing to work in a framework where we will all understand the nature of our businesses and make certain exemptions and certain flexibility for all of us to work. So we will increase sensitization. We'll engage ourselves in workshops and train ourselves, get maybe some officials from Bank of Ghana to come and assist us. It's not like it's new. We've actually engaged them in the past. But the challenge has been the environment we find ourselves. And so we need to fix the economy itself. We need to work towards stabilizing the currency naturally so that all these things will not come in the first place. You see, that's the way I see it. Because it is difficult, really difficult, as I explained to you, when you are building a project and you start with the price and you finish at the price. It has brought so much confusion between clients. Some people who have signed on mortgages, for example, we are having a very big challenge. We're working with some of them, and projects that have been secured and has been fully awarded to people, and then you get shocked with all this high increments and high prices of materials. It throws the project out of gear, and it has got a lot of problems. In fact, as I speak to you now, there's a lot of renegotiations going on, and some projects have actually been put on complete hold because the volatility, the exchange rate situation, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's not working well. But Bank of Ghana, we cannot stop them. They should go and enforce their law. But I think they need to engage us more so that we can explain things to them, and where they think they can give us some leeway, we will use it and make it possible for businesses to survive.
Great.
I think at the end of the day, it is about survival of business. The government can also get access to tax. If we collapse, the government will not get access anyway.
You had the Executive Secretary of Greater, Samuel Amegaibo. Now to another story we are following for you tonight. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has been trying to defend government's management of the ailing economy today at a TESCON event. Inflation has skyrocketed over the past few months. Prices of goods and services keep going up. The country is saddled with high debt. Recently, we were downgraded by credit rating agencies. And the local currency is currently ranked second worst performing in Africa. These are some of the issues the leader of government's economic management team has been trying to address at that event. You just saw a picture of it. But did he do a good job? Joining me is partner at accounting firm Deloitte Ghana Yao Latte to discuss. So as we expected, the usual talking points, Yao, to do with the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war. Those were reasons he cited for where we are now. Does that sell?
Yeah, so I think good evening to you, your viewers and your listeners. So I think I've followed the speech from the Vice President. He's attempted to address a lot of the issues that people have asked questions on. I guess for most of the pre-COVID achievements, he did an excellent job. He explained the key drivers of the economy, the key factors that move the economy and activities pre-COVID. And I think that has been excellent. For me, some of these points and the explanation and the commentary are coming too late in the day. So for instance, the government gave a trajectory of projects that have been executed with some of the debts that has been contracted by government. The question that we've been asking for all these loans, all these borrowings that we have been incurring, what have they been used for? And I think these explanations are coming too late in the day because this question has been asked several times and we are now getting answers to. I think pre-COVID explanation has been excellent. All the trajectory, especially comparing with previous government, I think we know the Vice President, he's so good at it. What we haven't seen well explained is the post-COVID challenges that we are having at the moment. So we are having quite a number of post-COVID challenges, and we do not expect the reason that we are getting now, or the explanation that we are getting now, to be the factors or the main reason why we are having some of these post-COVID challenges. For me, what is important is the average Ghanaian wants to know how some of the policies that have been outlined by government in the 2022 budget, and also the revenue and expenditure measures that have been outlined by the Minister of Finance, is going to improve the situation for them. It's going to create employment. It's going to increase the availability of funds and money in their pockets. And I think for me, that has not come out too well. And some of the explanations that have been given, there have been an attempt to compare our situations with some developed economies, particularly citing the Russia-Ukraine war. Yes, indeed, developed economies like UK, Spain, and others are all going through various challenges. But there are some other indicators that some of these countries are doing much better than we are doing. And so to compare them when the situation is worse, but some positive indicators that we have there, we do not have them, I guess we're probably not comparing too well. And that's something that I don't think we've probably been addressed well in that speech.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing to that, basically because one of the issues with comparison, for instance, with the previous government, it was as if to say it's the COVID-19 pandemic, it's the Russia-Ukraine crisis that have brought these challenges. But the previous government also had to deal with some external factors. For instance, we're just recovering from the global financial crisis. There was a collapse of the crude oil market. So you hear the NDC say, we also had challenges then, but we're not putting up these excuses. And it's like you're using these factors to explain away your inability to manage the economy.
Yeah, so I think that's a point well noted. But the fact still remains, which I agree with the Vice President, that the impact of COVID cannot be compared with any financial crisis that we've had in the last few years. COVID had devastating impact not only on Ghana, but economies all over. So COVID, I cannot link it even to 2008 financial crash, had some impact. But for developing economies like us, the 2008 financial crisis did not really have a lot of impact like COVID did. So COVID had devastating impact, and that's a fact that's incontrovertible. For us in Ghana, I think the challenge that we are having now is post-COVID crisis and the recovery plan. During the COVID period, we had a lot of reliefs. We did a lot of things. We overspent. We suspended our Fiscal Responsibility Act and incurred a budget deficit that was way above the cap of 5%. The problem, or something that we highlighted at the time, was that if you continue to overspend and we are not careful, it's going to take a longer time to recover. And we are beginning to experience that because there were some expenditures that, in our view, they were not expenditures that were helping to recover. They were not helping to mitigate the challenges that businesses and individuals were facing. So some of the freebies that were given, some of the incentives and the reliefs that were given to people that did not really need them. Were given to business that did not need these freebies. So all of those compounded the situation, and then today we are having to take some time to recover. And I think lessons learned. When we do have challenges, we have to look at the areas that critically need them. And I think when we were even highlighting the revenue and expenditure measures, one of the points that we made to government was that we are not just interested in cutting expenditure. We should focus on cutting expenditure that will add value to the economy. Cut recurrent expenditure. Expenditure on things that do not add value, we can easily cut them. But expenditure that's supposed to stimulate growth, if we cut them, you will not have the impact. And I think if we do not prioritize our expenditure cuts, if we do not prioritize the things that we spend money on, then we're going to have the vicious cycle of incurring budget deficits and having to go through a fiscal consolidation and even sign on to external programs like the IMF and so on and so forth. We do not want to go through that vicious cycle. That has to stop at some point.
Right, and it's also true that before these external factors, the economy was doing well. In fact, we're considered a rising star in Africa. And so at the end of his presentation, the Vice President wants to convince us that the growth fundamentals of our economy is strong. Remember the famous statement from him that if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. Yeah, and so do you think that, in fact, I heard him say the fundamentals of the economy are still strong. Do you agree with that perception?
That's a very interesting one. And so today we are having a depreciating local currency or depreciating CD because of the fundamentals that we have not addressed. And it is not just this government. Historically, there are some economic fundamentals that we have not addressed with a pragmatic policy. So if you continue to manage the stability of our local currency with, let's say, contracting of external loans, so if we syndicate loans or we go for external loans, and that helps stabilize the CD for about 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, and then the CD starts depreciating again. For how long will you continue to rely on external funding to stabilize our local currency? So I think our extensive reliance on imports, our dollarization of our economy, these are the fundamentals that are really causing the depreciation of local currency. And I think the new policy or new directive by Bank of Ghana, for instance, is a laudable policy. So long as we are going to follow them through to implement them, our economy has been dollarized so much that everything is pegged to the dollar. And so if the cedi is depreciating, there will be significant increase in price of goods and services because we are still pegging goods and services to the dollar. If we do not address those fundamental issues, then we will continue to have the problem that we are having. Our economy is import-driven. We import virtually everything, and that thing has been overemphasized. We've heard it so many times. We still rely on a lot of import for most of our basic things. That problem has to be addressed. And if we are not addressing these fundamental problems, and we are relying on us pumping dollar into the market, relying on contracting external loans, euro bonds to manage our city, then these are short-term measures, and we will continue to be in that vicious cycle of having our local currency depreciate and we going for external facility to manage the risk.
I don't know if the Vice President spoke about the CD and e-levy as I was preparing to come on the air, but I just wanted to find out finally, do you think, from what you heard so far, is this reassuring to the private sector and the investor community what the Vice President has said today?
Yeah, so I think to a large extent, there is some assurance, and that we admit. There is some level of assurance. And the reason I say this is on two fronts. So the first one is the digitization of the economy. We have managed to digitize the economy. We are going to a unified common platform to identify individuals and transactions, where they are listed Ghana card for banking transactions, for business transactions, for online payment transactions. The problem we've had in the past is that we've had all manner of digitization, but we were not speaking to each other. This is the time for us to write on digitization to increase our revenue. If you write on the digitization that we are implementing to increase our revenue, you will have the benefits. The second reason is that we have e-levy, and the scope and coverage of e-levy has moved away from predominantly mobile money transactions to banking transactions, online business transactions. And I think there are some business transactions of foreign entities that are operating here. People are utilizing their services, but we are not paying taxes. And I think that is a good step, and it's a significant milestone to bring in some entities that were outside the tax bracket because they were doing online transactions into the tax bracket. The problem is we should clearly let Ghanaians know which transactions are affected by the e-levy and which transactions are not. Otherwise, there will be adverse behavior where people will stop online transactions, people will stop online payment platforms because they think they are going to be affected by e-levy. Whereas in actual fact, those transactions will not even attract the e-levy. So I think that education needs to go down well with Ghanaians, and then make sure that we get the benefit of e-levy.
All right.
E-levy has come to stay, and in the event that is not maybe some court action does not stop it. It has come to stay. What we need to do is to ensure that online transactions remain as high, and people who are vulnerable are excluded from the adverse impact of these taxes.
All right. Thank you so much, Yao Latte. As always, appreciate your time with us. That was partner Deloitte, Yao Latte, on the Vice President's presentation at TESCON today. Now, President of the Association of Ghana Industries has presented two policy proposals to government. The first proposal is the total ban on the export of raw materials, including cocoa, to enable industries take up the job of adding value to these materials. The second, according to Humphrey Yimdake, is for the Bank of Ghana, Bank of Ghana's Monetary Policy Committee to make public minutes of all the MPC sessions. He was speaking at the India-Ghana Business Summit. Here's more in this report.
It was an ambitious list of proposals by the Association of Ghana Industries to the government. Speaking at the India-Ghana Business Summit, President of the AGI, Dr. Humphrey Yimdake, made a case for a total ban on the export of raw materials, including cocoa, and for the Bank of Ghana's Monetary Policy Committee to make public minutes of all MPC sessions.
I am of the opinion that to some extent, some agricultural products should be banned from export in their raw state. I say this, and I know it shall be a provocative statement. Why should it be the case that paddy rice should be exported in its raw state, whilst we have factories in Ghana that could add value and export it as a finished product? So we are proposing that such exportable products should be taxed. And I always refer to the monetary policy report because to me, it comes with its true position. However, I always charge the governor that in other jurisdictions, the minutes of the policy committee's report is published. However, in Ghana, that is not the case. They only give out the data and then the report. When you get a minute of the meeting, you will understand each member's concept and ideology to the economy. And in law, you will sometimes call it the dictum of the judges. You will see how the variances are in the decision in the minutes. It's our prayer that he either brings us to the table or submits the minutes to us to understand what goes into the data and the publication of the reports.
Also at the conference, Indian High Commissioner to Ghana, Sigant Rajaram, believes innovative business reforms by government are urgently needed to deepen bilateral ties between both countries.
With Industry 4.0, we'd like to see that we work together on Skill Development 4.0. This is very important because the new businesses demand new kind of labor. The traditional labor has no place to contribute towards the new industry.
In all of this, the Deputy Trade Minister, Michael Trebefi, assured Indian investors that government continues to ensure a business-friendly environment for businesses beyond the impact of the coronavirus pandemic.
Government recognizes the importance of an enabling business environment and its engagement with the private sector in attraction of both domestic and foreign direct investment. In view of this, we are embarking on a business regulatory reforms program as part of our industrial transformation agenda to address the bottlenecks impacting on business development, reducing the cost of doing business, and positioning Ghana as a preferred destination for foreign direct investments.
The India-Ghana Business Summit saw captains of industry renew commitments to bolster trade activity between both countries. It was themed Strengthening India-Ghana Business Relations Post-COVID.
And you're watching Business Live. We are taking a short break. We will be right back. Welcome back to Business Live. MasterCard Foundation and IDH, the Sustainable Trade Initiative, have announced the launch of an innovative partnership dubbed Grains for Growth to transform Ghana's grains market. The Grains for Growth program will partner a dozen small and medium-sized enterprises in northern Ghana, high-profile off-takers and other supply chain actors to create 103,000 work opportunities across the maize, rice, millet, and sorghum supply chains, with majority of these targeting young Ghanaian women and men. There's more in this report.
The Grains for Growth project is expected to support selected farmers with resources in order to strengthen the country's grain value chain as well as create jobs for the youth. According to the Deputy Minister for Agriculture, Yao Frimpong Ado, fertilizer will play a key role in this project, hence it needs to have regular supply in order to sustain growth. He is confident that the move by government to source locally and through Dangote will help.
We just launched this Dangote fertilizer in Nigeria. It's a huge edifice that we've had in our sub-region. You see, Ghana wanted to do it, but because of financial constraint, we've not been able to start. Because the natural gas that we used to produce, a few countries have it. Ghana, fortunately, we have it. So we are now putting things, some mechanisms in place to mobilize private capital to do that business. So we will rely on this I'm talking about. And then locally, some companies are producing organic fertilizer. Zoom Lion like this is having about 16 plants in the 16 regions that are going to convert human waste into fertilizer, you see. That is what we are going to rely on, because when that one is complete, a couple of them are complete now, but we need all of them to come on board so we can be sure that the farmers will have enough fertilizers locally.
Country Program Manager for Growth Sustainable Africa, Sugri, has been explaining to Joy Business the importance of the Grains for Growth initiative.
Trying to develop inclusive supply chain of grains that will empower small, medium enterprises and smallholder farmers to be able to produce enough quality grains for food security and also to supply raw material to industry. The aim is to be able to develop a very vibrant grain subsector in agriculture space, to be able to create more jobs, especially for women and youth in the space. And we are looking at a whole number of areas. We are looking at how to develop business capacity support for these SMEs, also support them with production and mechanization.
The program is expected to last for more than 3 years.
And that's Business Live. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time tomorrow.